Good afternoon and welcome to the August 24th, 2021 regular meeting of the Hillsborough City County Planning Commission. We thank you for attending this meeting. Your comments and participation is encouraged. To minimize feedback in the audio, all participants in the meeting will be muted until it is their opportunity to speak. Planning commissioners should raise their hand or mute themselves and turn on their camera to indicate they would like to speak. Please be sure to state your name at the beginning of your remarks for the benefit of the clerk. There will be an opportunity for members of the public to provide comments. When your name is called, you will be unmuted when it is your turn to speak. Please wait until the chair calls on you to begin speaking. State your name at the beginning of your comments and adhere to the time limits. If anyone has difficulties or is watching via HTV and would like to provide comments to be included in the record for local government hearing, please email them to planner@plancom.org. That's PLANNER@plancom.org. For action items, the meeting will be conducted as follows. The agenda item will be introduced. Staff will give their presentation with a 15-minute time limit. The applicant will be given the opportunity to make a presentation with a 15-minute time limit. Following presentations, members of the public may address the Planning Commission when recognized by the chair. Public comment will be heard for 3 minutes per person. The applicant will be afforded a 3-minute period for rebuttal or response. Planning commissioners will ask questions. Public comment will be closed. Then upon a motion, a second, and discussion, a vote will be taken. With that introduction, I'll ask Commissioner Maurino to lead us in the prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. All rise.
Heavenly Father, we come before you today with praise for your mighty power and guidance. We thank you for this day and thank you too for the many blessings in our lives, for our great country, and for the opportunity to live in freedom. We ask your blessings on our leaders, and we ask that you give each one of us here today the wisdom to make the right choices so that our decisions will be in the best interests of the people of Hillsborough County. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Maurino. All right, with that, I would like the clerk to go ahead and please call roll.
Good afternoon, Bernstein. Bernstein. Cardenas. Cardenas. Dick.
Here.
Dowdy.
Here.
Handy.
Here.
Crest.
Here.
Lincoln. Lincoln. Marina.
Here.
Powell.
Here.
Dickerson.
Hi, Renee Kamen. Renee Kamen sitting in for Amber Dickinson for the school board.
Rodriguez. Here. Joseph.
Here.
Thank you. Have a quorum.
Thank you. All right, our next item is the approval of the minutes for the following meetings: the regular meeting for July 12th, 2021, and public hearings on Hillsborough County Plan amendments for July 12th and 19th, 2021. Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion.
Motion by Commissioner Powell, second by Commissioner Dix. Any further discussion on the item? We'll ask the clerk to do a roll call vote.
Dick.
Yes.
Dowdy.
Yes.
Handy.
Yes.
Crest.
Yes.
Marina.
Yes.
Powell.
Yes.
Joseph.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you. All right. The next item up on the agenda is public comment, and we have not received anyone sign up for public comment, so we will move right along to Our action items. The first action item is Hillsborough County 4-year 22 through 27 Capital Improvement Plan and Capital Improvement Element Schedule of Projects. The presenter will be Diego Guerra.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Diego Guerra, Planning Commission staff. This item is the Planning Commission's review of Hillsborough County's capital improvement program and the capital improvement element schedule of projects update. This is an action item and a resolution is provided for your vote. The review was conducted in accordance with Chapter 97351, which requires the Planning Commission to conduct an annual review of the county's CIP. Chapter 163 of Florida statutes requires the schedule of projects or the list of projects that address levels of service and adopted in the comprehensive plan be updated on an annual basis. This update would replace the existing capital improvement element schedule with the schedule in your packets. The update is accomplished by ordinance, and as such, Planning Commission staff also conducted a review of the schedule of projects. The review of the CIP and the CIE schedule for consistency with the Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan, as well as plans of adjacent jurisdictions. Displayed is a summary of the capital improvement projects, which are placed into 8 program areas. You can see the largest groups in terms of funding are solid waste and water enterprise. The total proposed funding amount for FY22 through FY27 is $2.154 billion for a total of 229 projects. This slide depicts the percentage of projects addressing levels of service, and as you can see, 91% of the projects address levels of service. The first step in reviewing the capital improvement program and the capital improvement element schedule for consistency was to take a look at the projects identified by the county as addressing levels of service and see how the capital improvement element schedule compared to those priorities outlined in the capital improvements element. Capital improvement element policy 1.3.2 states that funding should first be expended on projects that maintain levels of service and eliminate existing deficiencies before expanding funding on projects to serve future growth. As you can see, a combined 83% of capital improvement element funds are slated for projects that either eliminate deficiencies or maintain levels of service, and only approximately 17% of the funding is being used on projects that serve future growth. Utilizing geospatial data, Planning Commission staff looked at all the projects which were analyzed to ensure consistency with related future land use element policies, future land use element and one water chapter policies pertaining to the urban service area. 78% of the funding is for projects within the urban service area. Projects in the rural area include replacement and renovation of existing facilities, parks, and trails. None of these projects would encourage growth or sprawl in the rural area, and no water or sewer lines are planned for the rural area, which is supported by Future Land Use Element Objective 1 and One Water Chapter Policy 3.13 and 4.3.1. Capital Improvement Element and Coastal Management Element objectives state that public expenditure for infrastructure and facilities within the coastal hazard area should be minimized. With this being said, Planning Commission staff used GIS to analyze all the projects available with available geospatial data to determine their proximity to the coastal hazard area. We found 4 projects within the coastal hazard area. These projects either serve existing development, renovate, replace existing facilities, or enhance public access to natural areas. This is considered minimal construction. Minimal construction ensures that county property and expenditure is not subject to unnecessary risk. Therefore, the CIP is consistent with the CIE and the CME objectives governing the coastal hazard area. Ladies and gentlemen, staff recommends the Planning Commission find the county administrator's recommended FY22 through FY27 CIP and CIE schedule consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the Future of Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan for unincorporated Hillsborough County. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes my presentation. Myself and county staff are available. Any questions?
Thank you. I just want to confirm the county didn't have any other presentation or anything like that.
No, they do not, sir.
Okay. I will go ahead and then open it up to the commissioners because we had no one sign up for public comment. So are there any questions or comments from the commissioners? Seeing none, I had a quick question for you, Diego. I noticed in the report, we spoke about waste and water. It's one of the highest, outlays, closely followed by, it looks like, transportation. And I was wondering, stormwater didn't seem to get much. And I know over the past couple months to a year, we've been talking a lot about water and coastal high hazard and, those sorts of things. So I was just wondering, especially, I'm kind of glad you're presenting this because you're on the environmental team. So I was just wondering if there was any thought behind that. I mean, I'm not questioning the capital outlays. It struck me as interesting that we have so much money in water because obviously we need to develop our water infrastructure, but then we kind of have so little in stormwater. It seemed like a second thought. So I just didn't know if you had anything to speak on that, or maybe county staff could speak on that.
Sir, I would say that there's a large portion for the water enterprise, mostly due to the county's upcoming projects for South County. I know that is a priority for the county. I don't know if Mr. Mark Martinette has any additional input, but I would say that is one of the reasons why water enterprises is high.
Yes, correct. Yeah, that's why water enterprise is moving forward with that one water project. But as far as stormwater is separate from the water enterprise, but they have their own stormwater fee, which is part of the property tax bill that everybody gets each year. So there was a plan that's gone to the Board of County Commissioners for setting those rates and usually increasing them each year. So there is a dedicated funding source for the stormwater work, and that's usually carried out by the Public Works Department. So it doesn't, it's a more of a consistent stream, somewhere in the neighborhood of $21 to $25 million a year that comes in annually for stormwater projects. But it's not the magnitude when you get the very large projects like for the, setting up a new water plant or wastewater treatment plant. But it is consistent, and they do have a dedicated funding source.
Okay, I got you. Thank you.
Your name, please.
Oh, go ahead.
Sir, please state your name.
Oh, okay.
This is Mark Martinette from the Management Budget Department.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. That was all for me, just a quick curiosity on my part. Seeing no further questions or discussions from the commissioners, I'll go ahead and close public comment and open it up to motions from the commissioners on this item. Commissioner Dowdy?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd move that the Planning Commission approve the resolution finding a recommended fiscal year 22 to 27 CIP and CIE schedule of projects consistent with the future of Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan and forward it on to Board of County Commissioners.
Thank you. I have a motion of approval by Commissioner Dowdy, a second by Commissioner Maurino. Is there any more discussion on this item from the commissioners? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to go ahead and do a roll call vote on this item.
Dick?
Yes.
Dowdy?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Kress?
Yes.
Marina?
Yes.
Howell?
Yes.
Joseph?
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you. Thank you for the report. All right, our next item up is 3B. Yeah, item 3B, Commercial-Locational Criteria Study, and the presenter is Andrea Papandrew.
Good afternoon, Andrea Papandrew, Planning Commission staff. Presenting the unincorporated Hillsborough County Commercial-Locational Criteria Study Consultant Contract. This study is part of the greater update to the future land use element of the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. The purpose of this study is to provide an analysis of currently adopted commercial locational criteria policies, which is objective 22 of the future land use element. Locational criteria is the framework for allowing non-residential development in residential land use categories, and the update will look at the relationship between commercial uses and the future land use categories, including policies on mixed use, urban and rural areas, and discouraging strip commercial development. Part of the study will be a literature review of best practices for commercial development in residential areas. The study will also conduct stakeholder interviews, and the consultant will be utilizing the Social Pinpoint engagement tool. Social Pinpoint is a web-based tool, and it's utilized to facilitate public input through multiple engagement platforms such as online surveys, interactive mapping, and online forums. And the study will ultimately result in updated future land use element comprehensive plan policy language for Objective 22 and any associated policies. The request for proposals was released in June. Planning Commission staff released the request on the Plan Hillsborough website. It was sent to the approved providers list, and it was posted on the American Planning Association website and the Planning Commission newsletter. Applications were received and interviews were conducted in July. The interview panel consisted of staff from the Planning Commission, the Hillsborough County Community and Infrastructure Planning Department, and the Hillsborough County Development Services Department. And the panel selected S&ME as the consultant. The panel's reasoning was based on the experience that the consultant team has in writing land development and comprehensive plan policy language, their familiarity of commercial location criteria issues, and their proposed innovative approach to public engagement. And that innovative approach is the Social Pinpoint tool I mentioned earlier. The consultant has utilized this tool on other projects. So this is a draft study schedule. It is subject to change, and a more comprehensive timeline can be found in the agenda packets. Currently in August is the ongoing contract approval process. September to October, consultant will be reviewing existing documents and studies and conducting up to 3 case studies on how other counties are handling locational criteria. September to November is the public engagement portion. There will be stakeholder interviews and formal briefing of planning commissioners and individual briefings with the Board of County Commissioners. There will also be 2 public workshops, which will be held both simultaneously online and in person. And these workshops will be split between the urban and rural areas of the county. Draft recommendations are expected October through January. Tentatively in 2022, there will be a Planning Commission workshop and 2 Board of County Commissioner workshops. And the final document is expected to staff in the March timeframe. Myself and Melissa Leinhardt, an executive planner for the Planning Commission, will be the project managers and main points of contact for this study. And staff recommends authorizing the executive director to sign the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan Commercial-Locational Criteria Study Consultant Contract with S&ME. Thank you, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. All right. We had no public comments on this one. No one signed up for public comments. So I'm going to open it up to the commissioners on this one for comments or questions on this item from them. Commissioner Dix.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Melissa, you're here, so let me just ask you. The agreement authorizes you to spend an amount not to exceed $100,000. Are you anticipating that to be 100, or you have any idea? Is that just to give you a ballpark or a range, or?
I do believe that the scope and contract that we have from them would utilize most of $100,000, yes.
Okay, and kind of the follow-up to that is that none of us obviously have any concept of how much a consultant would really require in this regard. So you're satisfied that that's the amount that is appropriate and necessary and regular and all
yes,
that? Okay.
Yes. When we put out the RFP, we put out that we indicated that not to exceed amount, and that was based on looking at other types of similar type studies and what they had cost other local governments or ourselves or the MPO, what we thought it would take.
Well, not to belabor the point, but that's just really interesting. You did that to compare to other agencies. I get that. That was smart. But then you actually put in the RFP not to exceed $100,000?
We did.
Because, I mean, hey, if somebody tells me not to exceed that, that's exactly what I would come up with. Maybe $1 shy of that. But, you know, if it said 150, I'd come in at 149.9. So I'm just curious as to why we do that.
Well, I certainly didn't want to get a bunch of requests for proposals back that were in excess of what we had the resources to afford to do. So I guess I thought it was a more transparent process to let them know what the budget for the project was.
Yeah. That doesn't change my support. I mean, I know that you do a good job, but it's a comment to consider.
Yeah.
Going forward. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Dix. Are there any other comments or questions from the commissioners? I just wanted to say for myself that I thought the contract showed a lot of what you spoke about. It's very open, possibly to some detriment, as Commissioner Dix could point out. It could be used in detrimental ways, but I think because of the subject matter, this commercial-locational criteria thing that we've had to deal with here, it's a very touchy thing. So I think I like the openness of it. You know, there's not a questioning of, you know, who appointed this person, who appointed that person, where did these people come from? Even the method, you know, I can tell the consultants putting in the method that they're talking about using to do the work throughout the thing. So everybody I can see from top to bottom on this thing is like, hey, this is what we're doing. Everybody take a look. Everybody be happy with it. So I think the transparency in this thing is pretty good. And I can't say like Commissioner Dix, I don't know that the 100K is the right number, but I have faith in you. So you have my support also. All right. Was there any more comments or questions from the commission? Oh, sorry, Commissioner Handy, I can't see your light. Yeah, please go ahead.
Sure, thank you. This is sort of a general question about the whole process. I'm interested in the concept that it's to prevent strip commercial development. So in the public hearing portion, is that an effort to get residential communities on board with this concept? And also, how does a contract like this and a study like this ultimately attain this goal of preventing strip commercial development? Sorry if that's way too big a question.
No, that's a great question. So the locational criteria is adopted in the plan today. It's been in the plan since before I started 20 years ago. So I'm not sure exactly when it was introduced, but pre-2000. So what it does is it allows for non-residential development in our residential land use categories. So areas that are residential 4 or residential 6, more suburban areas of unincorporated Hillsborough County, non-residential development is allowed, but it's allowed based on this locational criteria that says it has to be within a certain distance of an intersection. And there's criteria for what the scale of the intersection is based on the number of lanes of road and the distance from that intersection. And but over time, what has happened is with a lot of the concepts in the comp plan is there have been decisions and changes that have been made that might not have that concept. The concept was we cluster the non-residential development at a major intersection, and then the residential kind of wraps around it, and then you have the next intersection. And there are some roadways that you can drive down and you can kind of see how it worked. There are also a lot of roadways where you can see where it didn't work. And so I think what we're looking at is that now that our community has matured 20 some years, is this concept still the right concept for guiding non-residential development in our community? And how has a lot of things have changed, particularly in the retail environment, that we've started getting requests for different types of uses to be located closer to where people live. that we didn't used to get. So there's just a lot of questions that we think could benefit from seeing what's out there and is this the best approach to dealing with it. So that's the idea. Again, some places I can point you to, you can kind of see where it worked, where the commercial's located at the nodes along the roadways. And others, it didn't.
I'm actually picturing places like Fishhawk. Am I on the right track there?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. I think Boyette is a good example of the commercial. Is at Balm Riverview. It's at it's at Bell Shoals. It's out at Fishhawk, and it's at those major intersections. It's not all along the roadway like it is on, say, State Road 60.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Handy. Commissioner Powell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Melissa, are we obligated to do this study or studies when we're wanting to make these changes? Do we have to do a study?
No, I think when staff decides that we need to do a study, it's usually because we want to get expertise outside of our agency in terms of learning about how other places have handled it. Perhaps it's a issue that we know is going to have a lot of community input, and we want to have a consultant to be able to kind of synthesize all of that for us. But we felt that this issue was something that it's pretty unique. The other places that I've worked did not have locational criteria. So we thought this was something that we needed to have some extra expertise, in addition to just how we manage the staff resources with all the other work products.
But the board isn't required to take whatever their recommendations are and implement them. At the end of the day, they could really just do whatever they want to do, correct?
Very true, yes.
All right. So we could have this all could be for naught. Could just be for posturing.
Let's hope not.
Okay.
Ever the optimist, Commissioner Powell. Thank you. Thank you. Are there any more questions or comments from the commissioners? Yes, Commissioner Handy.
Yeah, one more. So I take it that in the proposal review process that SNME demonstrated that they have this level of experience and input for this type of study that you said, not everybody does it. It's a little bit unique. So there must have been some outstanding attributes that showed that they could provide you with that input and that experience you were looking for.
Yes. As Ms. Papandrew described, there was a selection committee that was not just Planning Commission staff, but also some county staff, since this study would relate to the unincorporated county plan, and they evaluated a number of proposals and found theirs to be the most qualified and to have the best well thought out approach to the project as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Handy. Are there any more comments or questions from the commissioners? Not seeing any at this time. I'll go ahead and close the public comment and open it up to motions from the commissioners on this item. Commissioner Dowdy.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I would make a motion that the Planning Commission authorize our executive director to sign the contract.
All right, we have a motion to authorize, is second by Commissioner Maurino. Is there any more discussion on this item from the commissioners? Commissioner Dix.
I presume we're going to have a signing ceremony with those pens that you hand out to get, a novelty souvenir or something. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Dix. All right. Seeing no other comments from the commissioners, I will, go ahead, Commissioner Dowdy.
Actually, I was having a thought, and Melissa, could you maybe just briefly, or maybe it's Tracy, spend a minute just talking about one of the reasons why we have to vote on the amount?
Sure.
Thank you.
Happy to. The current threshold limit in the Planning Commission policies for the executive director to sign a contract is $35,000. And anything above that requires coming to the Planning Commission. I will take the opportunity to apprise you all that we are bringing forward some changes to your policies next month, and one of them that I'm proposing is increasing that limit to $50,000, just because a number of consultant projects, the tipping point between when they become really big like this has increased over the years.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Dowdy. Commissioner Dix, did you have another statement? No? Okay.
I'm sorry.
All right. Seeing no other public comment, actually having a motion and having no other comment from the commissioners after the motion, I will ask the clerk to go ahead and do a roll call vote on this item.
Dick?
Yes.
Dowdy?
Yes.
Handy?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Maurino?
Yes.
Hal?
Yes.
Joseph?
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. All right. Next item up on our agenda is not action. No more action items. Good. All right. Just a bunch of briefings and presentations. Our first briefing is 4A, Plan Hillsborough Non-Discrimination and Equity Plan, and the presenters are Joshua Barber, and Dayna Lazarus, MPO staff.
Thank you, commissioners. It's great to be here this afternoon and present this update of the Non-Discrimination and Equity Plan. My name is Josh Barber. I'm a TPO staff and project manager, and I'm also joined by Dayna Lazarus, who's been a project planner for the past year. And we're just going to spend some time kind of walking through this document with y'all. To give you a bit of some background, as you all know, the TPO is funded by planning grants from the U.S. Department of Transportation, specifically Federal Highway and Federal Transit. And as a requirement of our planning grants, we're required to comply with federal rules and regulation, including non-discrimination related law. And our compliance with non-discrimination law is demonstrated through our non-discrimination plan. We last updated this in 2018, which was the first major update in about 10 years. And federal guidance moving forward asked us to update this document every 3 years. So in the initial stages of discussion about this plan update in 2020, we of course experienced the largest protests for civil rights and racial equity that our country has experienced since the civil rights movement in the 1960s, the subsequent passage of the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act. And with this renewed focus on equity and racial justice, the executive leadership of the Hillsborough City County Planning Commission requested that staff expand our non-discrimination program to include you all as well. And while the USDOT does not hold out the Planning Commission as a subrecipient of federal dollars, meaning you all are not required to demonstrate compliance with federal non-discrimination law, we found that it really makes sense to have a coordinated agency-wide approach to this. The Planning Commission does receive and benefit from federal dollars in some ways. Specifically, a portion of the TPO's federal grants are used to pay for overhead for the entire agency. And we have a significant amount of shared staff between our agencies. For example, the staff of the TPO are, of course, the transportation planning staff of the Planning Commission. And so this expansion will be a real tangible means of coordinating land use and transportation through unity on issues of civil rights through our agency, and allow us to provide a more clear and effective public service and speak with one voice on these issues of civil rights. And so what rules and regulations are we specifically talking about? The first table in our report provides an overview and summary of relevant federal legislation, executive orders, as well as subsequent regulations issued by the USDOT. And taken together, these define a broad non-discrimination program. And these acts, orders, regulations that lead us to our basic civil rights assurance that No person shall, on the grounds of their race, color, national origin, sex, gender, sexual orientation, age, income, religion, family status, or disability, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be otherwise subjected to discrimination or retaliation under any TPO or Planning Commission sponsored program or activity. And to achieve this basic civil rights assurance, we, the staff, executive leadership will do these following things, stuff like participate in training on Title VI, have a process to collect and map demographic groups across the county, take reasonable steps to ensure access to our programs to those with disabilities and those who are limited English, make efforts to prevent disparate impacts or disproportionate burdens on low-income minority communities, and a few other areas as well. In the last section of our introductory portion of the report, which was included in the agenda packet, really reiterates and clearly states the purpose of this plan. That is to both demonstrate Plan Hillsborough as an agency's compliance with federal non-discrimination authorities, but also to advance equitable outcomes and processes, not just above and beyond federal requirements, but in a way that remains true and more thoroughly addresses the original intent and core of non-discrimination regulations. And I'll talk a little bit more about what that means here in the next slides. This is an outline of the rest of the report after the introductory sections that we just kind of went over. The first part provides an overview of the essential components of Title VI and non-discrimination and how Plan Hillsborough complies with them. Part 2 does a deep dive into all the ways we've incorporated the principles and requirements of non-discrimination into TPO program areas. And Part 3 does the same for the Planning Commission programs as well. And taken together, these 3 sections demonstrate our compliance efforts to date. The next 4 sections help us more completely understand a few major things. The framework for equity helps us to more completely articulate what is meant when we talk about equity, what we need to think about in our planning processes, and some long-term goals. The documentation of the history of discrimination in planning practice in Hillsborough County serves as an acknowledgement of systemic racism in planning decisions and government through the 1960s. It helps to inform our understanding of the intent and core of civil rights acts and in the Fair Housing Act. It helps staff and decision makers and elected leaders better grapple with the connection between the past practices in planning and the inequities we're attempting to address today. And it provides a basis from which the institutions that perpetuated these actions can take responsibility to address those legacies. In addition, we conducted a thorough public engagement process, which aimed to hear from individuals and groups that have been underserved and have been traditionally excluded from participation in planning activities and decision-making. And the outreach really aimed to better understand the perceptions of various groups on their access to housing, transportation, employment, and other essential community services, and their perceptions of how discrimination has shaped that access. And ultimately, these major efforts were used to inform the recommendations of this report, which includes recommendations for the entirety of Plan Hillsborough, for the TPO, and for the comprehensive planning process specifically. And so I'll spend a little bit of time going through part 1 here. This provides an overview of how we have complied with non-discrimination regulations to date. It includes 5 components. First major component is a community overview, a demographic profile, and related maps. Federal non-discrimination regulations and executive orders ask us to identify and address the potential for high and adverse impacts as a result of our programs and activities on low-income and minority communities. The executive order on limited English proficiency asks us to ensure access for those folks. And so identifying the location of these groups and others who have been underserved is a necessary step for conducting not only effective and inclusive public engagement, but evaluating the outcomes of our programs and activities as well. We used 2 methodologies to map the location of underserved groups in the county. And that's detailed more thoroughly in the report, but we did one that's kind of a threshold methodology, looking at the top quintile of block groups by the percentage of a particular group in that block group. And then we did a dot density map, which mapped the actual distribution of persons and households across the county, not just areas with a high concentration. Component 2 looks at community access, engagement, and representation. It provides an overview of our efforts as part of our strategic plan at maintaining community partnerships. It describes the steps we take for ensuring those who are limited English have access to our programs, as well as steps we take for ensuring accessibility for disabled people in our programs. It also provides a demographic breakdown of the TPO board, advisory committees, and the planning commission on the basis of race, ethnicity, age, gender, disability as well. Component 3 looks at how we evaluate community needs and how we evaluate the outcomes of our plans and projects. This is primarily done through GIS analysis for both of our agencies, and some examples are provided in there as well. And it's the maps in component 1 here that are used to help evaluate the impacts of our plans and projects. Component 4 looks at how we evaluate the effectiveness of our outreach programs. The TPO specifically looks at our measures of effectiveness report, and then the entirety of Plan Hillsborough has our annual report as well. And then component 5 looks at, it lays out the responsibilities of our executive directors, the civil rights officer, which is me, and all other staff in complying with non-discrimination regulations. Part 2 looks at how the principles of non-discrimination and equity have been incorporated into the TPO program areas to date. That includes our LRTP, our TIP, systems and corridor planning, and public participation. Some highlights, in 2045, the 2045 LRTP found the potential for disparate health and environmental impacts as a result of increased traffic on our environmental justice communities. The most recent tip looked at the distribution of project miles by our funding buckets, that is real choices when not driving, Vision Zero, and the others in our low-income communities, our racialized communities, and ethnic communities first county-wide. The 2020 Vision Zero Speed Management Plan, for example, also used the Communities of Concern map from the 2018 plan to prioritize corridors for investment. And it also established safeguards against inequitable enforcement practices. And the TPO board, at the behest of the Citizens Advisory Committee, also passed a resolution on racial justice last year. With that, I'm going to hand it off to Dayna to talk about the Planning Commission work a little bit.
Thanks, Josh. So I did a review of equity and non-discrimination work in the Planning Commission's plans and processes. That includes the update and review of the comprehensive plans of all 4 jurisdictions, the update of community plans, and special area studies. Next slide, please. The first thing I want to highlight is the economically disadvantaged groups element, also called the EDGE, in unincorporated Hillsborough County's comprehensive plan. This element is dedicated to underserved communities. It includes a study of living conditions at the time the plan was written, which was 2008, analyzing data on things like average household income, conditions of the county's housing stock, employment data, and vehicle ownership. It also includes objectives and policies designed to improve the quality of life for economically disadvantaged populations by addressing the specific needs of different underserved demographics and neighborhoods. For example, policy 1.2 in the EDGE element is an environmental justice focused policy, restricting undesirable land uses like landfills and jails from being concentrated in low income areas. Next, as I was looking through the 3 cities' comprehensive plans, I found that in almost every element of all 3 plans, there are at least 1 or 2 goals, objectives, or policies that either prioritize underserved communities for consideration or investment, or address the specific needs of underserved communities, such as the housing needs of the elderly and disabled. This likely helped the plans receive recognition by the APA for sustainability by addressing the social pillar of sustainability. Next, the Eboor City Vision 2020 Master Plan update is highlighted because it was initiated by a community group, the Eboor City Development Corporation. Eboor City is an historic neighborhood that is experiencing a lot of growth and development, and this community group wanted to have a say in how that growth and development will happen. Finally, the Brandon Corridors and Mixed-Use Centers pilot project used some best practices to identify hubs where mixed-use development could be encouraged in order to increase density and improve walkability, thereby improving bicycle and pedestrian access and safety and reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Next slide.
And so these first three parts, have demonstrated our compliance with non-discrimination regulations to date. And as you can see, they have been, in many ways, thoroughly integrated into the comprehensive plans of the local jurisdictions. The next four sections, as I mentioned before, are intended to advance equitable processes and more just outcomes above and beyond federal requirements, while also remaining true and more thoroughly addressing the original intent of these non-discrimination regulations. A great realization we had early on in this process, which was informed by academic literature on the topic, is that simply outlawing discrimination has not remedied the results of the legacy of discrimination. In many ways, the original intent of the Civil Rights Acts and the Fair Housing Acts was not to only prevent further discrimination, but to actively undo the results of past discrimination in all areas of public life. And regulations advancing this aim have been somewhat unpopular, from the attempts of President Nixon's first HUD secretary to the more recent affirmatively furthering fair housing rule and Supreme Court rulings that have diminished the standards of disparate impact. Given these major dilutions in civil rights law and other shortcomings of the legislation, staff have identified a framework for equity and justice to have a basis upon which to build a more effective program. These components were identified by researcher Sethel Lowe and includes examining the distribution of benefits and burdens of our activities, which is a component of Title VI as it stands, but also recognizing both historical and current inequities and the systems that uphold those inequities. A major shortcoming of non-discrimination law currently is it does not seek to address historic inequity. It only seeks to not make things any worse or disproportionately harm any one group. This component asks us to consider, these components also asks us to consider issues of procedure, that is, who makes decisions and how they are made. And it also includes asking us to examine the quality of our interpersonal interactions and relationships between members of staff, our boards, and the public specifically. And finally, it includes the component of care and repair, which deals with the activities we take that are pro-social and demonstrate genuine care for the communities we live in and work for. And these components have really helped to guide some other steps we've taken, as well as our recommendations. The recognition of component of our equity framework, for example, supported staff desires to examine and document the history of racism and planning practice in Hillsborough County. You all have already heard my summary of these efforts in my last time before the board, and a full report is provided in Appendix F. The major takeaway here is that federal, state, and local governments across the United States have had a longstanding history of discriminatory practices and policies within the fields of transportation, housing, land use, and comprehensive planning. And while these practices and policies were carried out with an explicit intent throughout the 1960s, they also have created an entrenched racial, ethnic, and class-based segregation across our communities and have resulted in longstanding inequities that continue to be seen and felt today. Certainly, the local jurisdictions are no exception to this rule up through the time of this report in 1964 after the passage of the Civil Rights Act. And as we move forward to meet the needs of all our residents, it's imperative that we reflect upon our past as we plan for the future, and that we as members and leaders of government institutions take responsibility for addressing the legacy of racism in those institutions and the inequities that have resulted from past practices and policies. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to Dayna to talk about our public engagement.
Thank you. So, bringing it up to the modern day, meaningful public engagement with underserved communities is a key component of equitable urban planning as a part of our framework. Public engagement has long been a required part of the planning process, but equitable public engagement makes an intentional effort to ensure that engagement does not passively exclude underserved, underrepresented people. While in the past, demographics such as women and Black people, for example, were directly excluded from participating, these days exclusion tends to be passive, as it is often more difficult for marginalized people to access the planning process. For the public engagement for this plan, we demonstrated some methods for improving engagement with underserved people by making an intentional effort to oversample traditionally underrepresented demographics. We wanted to understand the access and discrimination challenges that underserved people in Hillsborough County are facing today and ask people their ideas for solutions for what we can do to address those challenges. So we used 4 methods of engagement. One method that garnered 456 participants was an online survey, which we primarily sent out to community groups. We also did field outreach and verbally conducted the survey, where we went out to low-income communities of color around the county, identified using the maps that Joshua mentioned earlier when we mapped the location of underserved communities. We also held a virtual storytelling forum where we asked open-ended questions in order to learn additional information that may not have been captured in the survey. Finally, we held 5 focus groups to ensure the participation of 5 key traditionally underrepresented demographics, specifically low-income people, LGBTQ people, disabled folks, Black and African Americans, and Hispanics and Latinos. To make this process successful, we engaged with some amazingly supportive community partners. The Corporation to Develop Communities of Tampa, the Waimama CDC, and Metro Inclusive Health partnered with us to put on the storytelling forum. Enterprising Latinas passed out flyers and helped us get input from the Spanish-speaking community. 200 Muslim Women Who Care is an awesome organization that we discovered through this process. They actually conducted their own access needs and challenges focus groups of Muslim women, and our relationship with them led to a fantastic staff training on the basics of the Islam faith and access needs of Muslim women. It took place a couple months ago. USF's Cutter helped us design the survey, and a USF Master of Urban and Regional Planning class helped us analyze some of the public engagement results. So thank you to our partners. Next slide, please. So this public engagement process produced several key themes around challenges that underserved people face today in accessing transportation, housing, other community elements, and community engagement opportunities. The overarching theme that emerged is that people feel that more investment is being made in wealthy white communities than in low-income Black and Hispanic communities, and they feel powerless to change that. People observed that racial and class segregation and displacement persist today, and that life for low-income individuals is made more difficult largely by the county's car-centric transportation system and a lack of political power. More specifically, on the topic of transportation, people want to walk and bike more, but are scared for their lives. They seek safe, walkable, bikeable, transit accessible communities when looking for a home, a place to live. But because prices are going up in the urban core and wages are stagnant, they end up being displaced to the suburbs where transportation and community elements are even more difficult to access. The neighborhoods they can afford to live in are burdened by trash, overgrown trees, unclean water, and a lack of beautification elements like neighborhood entryways. Finally, one of the biggest themes identified as a challenge to accessing political power is that people do not trust the government, and the feeling of powerlessness on top of other access issues like meeting times and distance from meetings ends up deterring folks from participating. Some key ideas about solutions to transportation challenges included investing in bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure, investing in public transportation, primarily the bus system, as there are already people today who rely on it, and investing in traffic calming devices, particularly speed bumps, which were actually mentioned 59 times in the data. Key solutions to the affordable housing crisis and housing discrimination included a focus on increasing affordable housing in dense urban cores and focusing on revitalization policies to counter gentrification. What this means is that while we should prioritize multifamily housing and investment in underserved communities, we must also ensure that these things are being done in tandem with community benefits policies, like job training programs and provision of affordable housing in order to keep people from being displaced and allowing them to access the benefits of improved facilities. People also asked for better access to information on whatever affordable housing and first-time home buyer programs already exist. And they had many new policy ideas around things like community land trust programs and developer regulations. Another overarching solution to improve access and quality of life was to ensure dense infill development that provides key community elements like quality parks, grocery stores, and government access hubs within walking distance throughout underserved neighborhoods around the county. Finally, folks had some fantastic ideas about how to better reach them, with most of those ideas boiling down to building genuine relationships with underserved people and bringing engagement and important decision-making processes closer to where people live, or meeting them where they're at and allowing them to speak for themselves, particularly by implementing field engagement methods such as the door knocking and tabling at community hotspots that we did for this engagement process. Next slide, please. Which now brings us to the section of our non-discrimination and equity plan that provides recommendations that Plan Hillsborough can implement to advance equity through our work. These recommendations were derived from a combination of the aforementioned public engagement, some staff interviews, and best practices research. The plan proposes recommendations for the entire agency and recommendations specific to the TPO and Planning Commission. Next slide, please. So the TPO and Planning Commission share administrative and public engagement processes and staff, and often coordinate resources and expertise. So these are some of the main areas where we've made some agency-wide recommendations. The first key area we focus on is in the area of human resources with things like hiring, representation, transparency, and training policies. For example, one recommendation is removing the requirement that all job applicants have a driver's license. Another is to do regular mandated diversity and civil rights trainings with all staff. Another subset of recommendations focuses on ensuring that a meaningful effort is made by staff and consultants to engage underserved demographic groups and neighborhoods. To that end, one recommendation is to expand the TPO's public participation plan to cover the Planning Commission. This will help the agency coordinate and standardize procedures for doing things like providing translated outreach materials and adding a procedural step in planning studies that involves overlaying study area maps with our underserved community maps in order to tailor engagement processes to reach the underserved communities that live in that project area. Another key recommendation is meeting people where they're at by increasing the use of field outreach engagement methods and improving access by continuing to conduct all meetings and events in a hybrid format. Along the lines of leveraging technology to improve access, another key recommendation is to identify a way to consolidate outreach information through an app or text messaging platform. Finally, we recommend strategies that improve how the TPO works together with the Planning Commission and with other jurisdictions to tackle equity issues. For example, by doing regular equity updates with the boards, hosting equity-focused staff meetups, data sharing, and ensuring that communication from the public is properly heard and addressed by the appropriate agency. Next slide.
In addition to those recommendations, there are several recommendations we have for the TPO and the Planning Commission, both of which are very similar. For the TPO, we're asking our agency to continue to evaluate existing transportation conditions. That includes stuff like conducting an equity-related needs assessment as part of our next long-range transportation plan update. And also continuing to evaluate the impacts of our plans and projects on Title VI and environmental justice communities. You saw that with the TIP, as I talked about a little bit before, but continuing that. And then taking that information to prioritize projects in those same neighborhoods to meet identified inequities or needs. Looking at our Vision Zero program, continuing to focus on design and policy, and trying to minimize and mitigate the impacts of enforcement through that program. The TPO is also being asked to look at the representation on their advisory committees, specifically non-technical advisory committees, to continue to support multimodal transportation projects and partners through our prioritization process. for the comprehensive planning process, very similar set of recommendations. We'd really like to see staff continue to evaluate existing community inequities along demographic and spatial lines. This includes looking at issues of fair housing, of examining issues of gentrification. That's something that Terry Egan had started to do in his concentrations of poverty report. So continuing to build upon that work. Continuing to examine the history and the impacts of single-family zoning on housing affordability, and considering issues of health and environmental conditions across our community, specifically in line with the executive order on environmental justice. Recommendation number 2 asks us to consider the impacts of the comprehensive plans and other plans on Title VI and environmental justice communities. As you know, an essential component of Title VI is that no one is denied the benefits of our plans, and environmental justice access asks us to examine adverse human health and environmental impacts of our plans and projects as well. So this recommendation is intended to really address those 2 core components. The third recommendation really seeks to take the information gathered from those 2 recommendations and propose goals, objectives, and policies to address the needs of Title VI, environmental justice, disabled, and other communities and individuals throughout all elements of the comprehensive plan, and asks us to consider opportunities to prioritize stuff like capital improvement program projects in those same communities. Recommendation 4 asks us to continue to support land development code enhancements in respect to the above. And that really closes up the presentation, everybody. I do want to thank some community partners, the citizens of Hillsborough County, Charles Brown of Equitable Cities, Danielle Jackson of Tel Public Relations as well. And, this is just a status report, so we're happy to take any comments or questions as well.
Thank you. All right. Were there any comments or questions from commissioners? Commissioner Maurino.
Thank you. I have a comment and then 2 questions. First of all, I thought this was really well done, and some of these branch off my comments and questions from last night. I want to say something about there's a section in here where you highlight prior deed restrictions based on race, and if you ever go through files like you did, it is pretty it's pretty alarming when you stumble upon something and you see it there, no pun intended, in black and white, even in modern times. In a way, I hope that stuff stays available so people understand how Tampa was 80, 100 years ago, and how we've come far, but not far enough in some cases. The 2 questions I have, so the first one was, were you able to identify, at least in terms of infrastructure, sort of the low-hanging fruit? And the example I'm thinking of specifically is with sidewalks. And there's a discussion at City Council, or has been a discussion at City Council, Tampa City Council, about requiring homes to put sidewalks in and not pay the in lieu fee. There are commercial and industrial developments that, because of where they are not required to put in sidewalks, or because there's drainage there, they'd rather have the ditch instead of a sidewalk and drainage. So when you went through this, were you able to kind of pick off some of those ones that have already started the process of maybe being amended to fit what your recommendations are here?
I don't think so off the top of my head. I think this was more of a process-oriented plan, and really seeking to put, civil rights law within the legacy of our discussions on equity moving forward. The TPO has done some work in those respects, and say like the State of the System report, looking at issues of air quality and crash rates, but I wouldn't say there are any recommendations that directly address or get to what you're asking. I'm not sure if Dayna has anything, or Melissa.
And then just one more question then. Oh, sorry, Dayna, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I would just add that we couldn't be as prescriptive and thorough as we would have liked to be. Hopefully, the jurisdictions will be able to do that, and the work of Plan Hillsborough will, you know, as it said in the recommendations, support those efforts.
Thank you. And then just one more question. This is a combination. There's a section where you talk about access, or it's I think a ranking of 10 types of things that people want to have access to: retail, groceries, healthcare, access to government, things like that. It seemed to me, no matter race, gender, age, access to retail, groceries, healthcare were the bottom three, or some combination of three of the bottom four. And then I think, Dayna, maybe at one point you said community benefit policies, especially as it relates to housing. I know there are places where, for example, they've built a library because the community needed a library, and then the developer built the library, and on top they built housing. Or they built housing and then they added the healthcare center at the bottom of it for a specific healthcare provider. So with, going off of what your last comments, I know you can't, you weren't looking necessarily for specifics. Did you reach out to the healthcare providers in town and ask, is there a way to increase this access, or did they discuss ways they could increase access in underserved neighborhoods?
That was not a part of this study. However, we asked a few different questions of participants to get at the priority access issues and the difficulty in accessing different community elements. And then in addition, when we did our open-ended qualitative study, we learned some additional things that people have difficulty getting to. Like, we didn't have in that list of community elements, we didn't have banks and childcare, and those were two things that people included as difficult to access. And also in the qualitative data, people talk more about access to quality grocery stores, possibly than anything else, which didn't come out in the quantitative piece. So just pointing out that it is very important to do that qualitative analysis and study to kind of fill in the blanks and learn additional information. I did recently learn that there's a new dentist downtown. So I think it's interesting. Dentists were also something that people said were particularly difficult to access. But just to answer your question, that was not part of the study. But it's a good idea.
Okay, thank you. But again, great job.
Thank you, Commissioner Maurino. Commissioner Handy.
Thank you. I have a few comments and sort of combined questions. They're kind of all separate, but the first one dovetails onto what Commissioner Maurino, I think, was asking, which is how are these policies, recommendations from your report, how were they inserted into public policies or law? And let me just be specific. I love the slide saying that people want access to biking and walking, but they're afraid for their lives. This very much dovetails into what we recently went through with the Waimama Community Plan. It's a big issue in the rural areas. However, a couple of months ago in a board meeting, one of the commissioners actually was talking about, it was a transportation tax issue, but his statement was people don't really use trails and sidewalks, bike lanes and sidewalks, except for on weekends and after work. And I was flabbergasted and frankly offended, and I think it just shows such a disconnect with what actual real people need and desire, which is pedestrian and bike access to jobs and services and so forth, which I think is what your study underscores. So I guess my question there is, how do your findings get inserted into actual policy so we don't get statements like that and then resulting laws that don't address these obvious issues?
It's a good question. I think it's a little different for the two agencies. I think on the TPO side, we have a lot of control over how our agency prioritize projects that are submitted by the local jurisdictions. And so we can use this process and the recommendations in it to, say, prioritize projects in certain neighborhoods. Say, we find that there's a lot of high stress bicycle and pedestrian facilities in this neighborhood. How can we address that inequity? On the Planning Commission side, it's a little bit more challenging because, of course, the Planning Commission is a recommending body. And so it's really up to the local jurisdictions to decide their policies and decide what they want to implement. So I think for y'all's purposes, the recommendations are primarily process focused and asking us to look at these things, consider them, present them to the local governments for consideration, and try to address what we find. But it's really up to the local jurisdictions at the end of the day. I'm not sure if Melissa would have anything to add on to that.
I think Joshua answered that really well. I think what we see here are ways that we can improve our analysis and our consideration of these issues as we draft plan policy, but ultimately, as Joshua said, those are just recommendations to the local governments.
Okay. And then the couple of other things I wanted to touch on. I'm glad you brought up the topic of the advisory boards and the citizens advisory committees and such, because coming from way down in Waimama, I've mentioned this before, it is not easy. You've got to have a car, you've got to have a flexible job. When I was on the TPO CAC, coming in rush hour, meaning that sometimes it was an hour and a half to get downtown. So I'm glad to see that being covered, and I do think that we need to reassess some of the in-person requirements or some of the meeting locations and meeting times so that we would have better access for and more diversity in our participation. And then finally, I would really be interested in your input regarding some of these issues of procedure and public process and reviewing historic versus some of those procedures today, because I personally was frankly surprised and am offended that we have a prayer at the beginning of these public sessions like this Planning Commission. And I think that we are wavering on the edge of not being all-inclusive by doing such things. I think it's outdated, I would like for Dayna or Joshua to weigh in on that and get your input.
I can provide input on that. We do have a recommendation. I'm finding it right now for you. It is within agency-wide measure 2.3 under agency-wide recommendation 2 to implement measures that create an environment where all religions and faiths feel welcome at agency events and meetings, such as requiring that open invocations are interfaith or by no longer doing prayer before meetings. So we do have a recommendation to take a look at that idea.
Okay, so that's just that's the recommendation for TPO Planning Commission to take a look at those issues.
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Handy. Oop. Go ahead, Dayna.
I just said thank you.
Oh, okay. Commissioner Powell, please, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I guess I was just a little taken back that my Commissioner Andy said that she's offended by prayer. Like, you're in general or just at public meetings? Like, trying to understand that.
At public meetings, yes, I think that it's outdated, and I don't think it's appropriate for a public meeting, frankly, regardless of the denomination. There could be at any given moment someone who does not adhere to what is being said in any given invocation, or for the invocation to be speaking for the entire board, I think is inappropriate.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Powell. Thank you, Commissioner Handy. Are there any more comments from the commissioners? Just for myself, I wanted to state that I've followed this for a while. Obviously, last meeting, I wasn't very happy with this. Some changes have been made. Some things have been shifted around. I wanted to commend you, Dayna. I think, obviously, we've spoken about this many times before we've gotten to this point. Hearing your presentation today, the way you've spoken about the public engagement, I think is really educated. The approach you're taking by talking about the base sampling and the people we're not catching in base sampling and trying to oversample those groups is a much better approach than the way you came in here the first time. So I'm very happy to see that side of this move forward. I'm going to have to be gray guy again, and I want this put on the record because, and I guess this is sort of a shot also at things coming forward from, transportation sort of views, but the historical side of this document has some real bad inaccuracies in here, okay? And I'm just going to give you one example because I don't want to belabor this point again because I think this is going to come up again as transportation comes before us. But on page 220, you talk about highway construction in Hillsborough County. And it stated that the Federal Aid Highway Act of 1956, known as the National Interstate Defense Highways Act under Dwight Eisenhower, financed and authorized the construction of the interstate highway system. Basically, in this paper, you're tying the start of the highway system back to the 1950s and also mixing in some disparaging comments about the automobile in the 1920s. I have here a document by Thomas McDonald published in 1920. Thomas McDonald was the first chief of the Bureau of Public Roads, which followed the Office of Public Roads, and which is today the Federal Highway Administration. And in 1920, right, the head of the U.S. National Bureau of Public Roads stated that in 1914, the expenditure for road and bridge work in the country was about $250 million. And he went on to further say that it's probably fair to say that in the year of 1920, the U.S. would be expending probably about $600 million on the U.S. highway system. This all occurred before the time period that you talk about in reference as justification for the points you're making. Again, he goes on to say that one of the most important factors in achieving this sort of development of a national roadway system, again, before the time period you're referencing, is the Federal Aid Act of 1916. So not only do I have organizations, not only do I have public dollars, not only do I have planning from different parts of government on the federal highway system previous to this time that you reference, but I mean, I could go on for days and days and days. So this historical part of this paper, and I've said it, and I've said it, and I've said it, and it seems like nobody understands it, is very inaccurate and uses some very false information in it. And if this thing keeps coming forward to us, because I get that this is not going into our comp plan now, but this is being buried in our agency and used by our staff to direct how they do their work. If false information is directing how staff does their work, you're going to have a problem with this commissioner, okay? And I want it known that when you come before us, the information presented, I mean, it better go through a serious sieve and you better make sure it's factual. And that's all I want to say about that. Are there any more comments from the commissioners? Yes, Commissioner Dix, please go ahead.
That was impassioned, Mr. Chairman. I was impressed. So I think you stated it well. I wholeheartedly endorse 99% of what you said, because I'm sure there's 1% that we might disagree on. I did catch in that comment, not yours, but in the comment about doing oversampling. In fact, I think you indicated that that was important. I understand that and I respect that. I get a little concerned about oversampling because it kind of implies we're starting to reach one way versus the next way. I love the concept of the outreach and making it a very inclusive outreach rather than exclusive outreach. So I hope we'll continue that. I'm a little concerned about the oversampling, but again, the outreach was very important. And I know we're getting way off topic, so I apologize. And I've become to greatly respect my commissioner to my side over here and her passion, and particularly for wanting to do such good things for South County, where she comes from. So I say it with great respect. But I would just want to go on record. I think that starting our meeting with a prayer, with some type of respective observance, is highly appropriate. It is a historical thing that we've done. I think Commissioner Maurino spent a lot of time making certain that it was very inclusive and making certain that it was not specific to one particular denomination or religion, and I think all commissioners have done that. And I think that it would be disingenuous to simply do away with it, particularly when we follow it up with our Pledge of Allegiance, which of course has and continues to have one nation under God. So I respect where you're coming from, but I think that it would be unduly divisive to try to make such a change starting at the Planning Commission. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Dix. Are there any other comments from the Commissioner Maurino?
Thank you. Sorry, I just the comments that you made, Chairman, I think make a lot of sense, and I think one of the things that's hard about this type of document is the history of it, and there's definitely things in here that I don't think fall under our jurisdiction, or maybe not even the cities. So, you know, thinking about this is non-discrimination equity plan, I don't know who else would have the authority or the ability to write such a document within the public, you know, within government. So, and then to your point, I agree with you, and there are certain things in here related to transportation projects that I think could have been written better, but for me personally, I think, you know, I wasn't judging this based on it being a historical document. I wanted to see, like, what could we change, what could we improve upon, what is that low-hanging fruit, and then what is sort of that long-term stuff. But, you know, that's why I made my comment that I thought it was well done because it was very comprehensive, but, you know, as I mentioned with, you know, some of this history and the deed restrictions, I think it's important that, because we have so many new people who come to the community, that there's an understanding of our history and what we're trying to advance to you know, a more perfect union, so to speak.
Thank you. And to be clear, the document is extremely well done. It's why I can find the inconsistencies I can find in it, right? It's a two-sided thing. Outreach, you know, what we're talking about being in line with Title VI, all good. You know, all that stuff is really great. When you start to dig into the history, there's some things in there that we're pulling articles from the Orlando Sun-Sentinel and just like saying this person said this and this person said that. Look, I get it. But you keep that stuff out of here, because when stuff comes before us, it has to be vetted. It has to be substantive, right? And I see a lot of things in here that aren't. There are a lot of things in the history that are. There was a homeowners loan corporation map. There's a lot of bad things that happened. There's a lot of reality in this document that's very good, but it takes some, you know, it takes some things and just runs with them a little too far, I think. You know what I mean? And it needs to be pulled in. So as it goes forward and as staff uses this again to craft their work, I'm going to be watching, right? And again, I think some of this stuff, my commissioners, you may see again because a lot of this stuff speaks to transportation, and we have transportation coming before us soon. So that's a large part of the reason why I wanted to make this stuff clear. Is there any more comments from the commissioners? Questions? Seeing none, I will thank staff for the presentation. Again, really good job from both of you. I think, again, the development from the last time we spoke to now is really good, so keep going. And thanks a lot for the presentation. All right, moving on to our next item. It will be 4B, Hillsborough County Solid Waste Overview. The presenter will be Melissa Dickens and Kimberly Byer.
Hi, good afternoon, Commissioners. Melissa Dickens, Planning Commission staff. This item is a follow-up and related to the solid waste section update of the Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. You all had a brief presentation that included some information on solid waste back in July. We talked about some things like the integrated hierarchy of waste management, some of the considerations for solid waste planning in the county. And after that presentation, Commissioner Joseph reached out and suggested that it may be helpful to have a presentation that presented not only a broad overview and of the context for solid waste within the county, but also something that detailed some more information about some of the items related to solid waste. And so today I'm joined by Travis Barnes. He's going to be filling in for Kimberly Byer. Travis is the Hillsborough County Recycling Coordinator. He's in the Innovation and Resiliency section at Hillsborough County. And Travis is going to be sharing a couple of things, a broad overview of solid waste within the county. He's also going to be sharing some of the planned innovations that are slated to begin implementing the comprehensive plan update. So this should hopefully be really interesting for this group because you all often see comprehensive plan policy, but don't always get the full picture of what the departments are working with. And today you'll also get a preview of some of the ways that things like the integrated hierarchy of waste management are slated to be implemented. So with that, I will go ahead and share the presentation that Travis has and turn it over to him. Thanks.
Hey, good afternoon, Commissioners. Again, my name is Travis Barnes. As Melissa's getting the presentation started here, I'm the recycling coordinator with the county, and we really appreciate the opportunity to provide an overview of the solid waste management system here within the county and to do a little deep dive into some of the plans that we've got moving forward and how we're going to continue to advance. So if you would, Melissa, next slide, please. So the vision for Hillsborough County Solid Waste Management is to provide long-term, sustainable, and financially responsible integrated solid waste management. We do that by protecting public health, safety, and the environment, ensuring environmental stewardship to residents and stakeholders, ensuring that the system has adequate capacity for future growth that we're anticipating, and also actively seeking out, evaluating, and implementing innovative waste processing methods to improve our collection, how we manage materials, and also on the customer service side of things. Next slide, please. So to give you a brief overview of the scope of our work, the Solid Waste Division serves approximately 300,000 households, and as you all know, that's continuing to increase year over year. We offer 2-1-1 curbside collection system, which essentially means twice a week garbage service, once a week yard waste collection, and once a week recycling service to our residential customers. That's via a franchise collection ordinance that we have with 3 contracted haulers. I'll touch on that a little bit in a future slide. We also started the automated single stream recycling program back in October of 2013, which was a big move for the county at the time. And that's yielded some positive results for us, but also there's some new challenges with that I'll get into. We also have household hazardous waste collection events on rotating Saturdays throughout the county to make sure that we're providing convenient means for residents to properly dispose of household hazardous waste. And I'll point out that across the solid waste industry, there is a growing risk of fires associated with the rechargeable batteries in particular. So we encourage residents to take the time to look at the county's websites, to get informed about how to properly dispose of some of these items because they are a threat to our employees, our staff, and our equipment, our processing sites. There's about 163 employees within the division spread out across our various facilities that we operate, as well as with the customer service teams and our contract management teams as well. Next slide, please, Melissa. So kind of an overview of how we collect garbage and recycling. We have 3 franchise collectors currently. Those are Republic Services, Waste Connections, and Waste Management. Of note, as of February 1st, 2022, Waste Connections will no longer be one of our franchise collectors, and they're going to be replaced by FCC Environmental. And the county's looking forward to hopefully improvement in some of the service delivery associated with that. We also have 2 transfer facilities where we collect the garbage and then transport those to our disposal sites. One is located in the northwest area of the county. The other is in the South County area off Highway 41. We have 5 community collection centers, and those are set up to provide a convenient means for residents to properly dispose and recycle of things that aren't typically collected curbside. So whether that's bulky waste, old furniture, that type of stuff, scrap metal that can be recycled but not recycled curbside, paint, electronics, a variety of other things, other material streams that we can properly manage via the community collection centers. And we also have facilities that we operate. The historic cornerstone is the resource recovery facility. That's our waste to energy facility that I'll provide a little more insight into, and it's operated by Covanta. We also have the Southeast County landfill, which is located in Lithia and is operated by Waste Management. We have 3 yard waste processing facilities where we process the residential yard waste we collect curbside, as well as what residents drop off to us, and also what some private landscaping companies deliver to us. And then those 3 household hazardous waste collection sites that we activate on rotating Saturdays. And we have a contractor, US Ecology, that properly manages those materials based on all the different materials that we collect via those processes. Next slide, please. So the historic cornerstone of the solid waste management system is the Faulkenburg Resource Recovery Facility. That's where we incinerate garbage to produce renewable energy. So it began operation back in 1987, went forward with a substantial expansion in 2009 that increased the capacity, the throughput at that facility to approximately 1,800 tons per day. And of note, we are at capacity with this facility now and have been for the past few years. So with the future growth that we're experiencing currently and that we're projecting to see, that's a major challenge for our system, and I'll touch on that in a little bit in regards to our future planning efforts. But we do generate renewable energy there, and that is used to power some adjacent county infrastructure, which provides environmental and cost-saving benefits that I'll touch on. Also of note is we have metal recovery systems in place. So after the garbage is incinerated, we also have ferrous and non-ferrous metal recovery that enables us to capture a lot more of the metals that weren't either recycled curbside or should not be recycled curbside and end up in the waste stream. Think, metal spatulas, utensils, a variety of other things that we can recover, but it's a sustainability component of that. I'll also note that the Environmental Protection Agency at the federal level has done a lot of research on sustainable materials management, which I'll touch on a little bit in the future. And the benefit of the waste energy facility, not only in providing revenue and renewable energy, is that it does lower our greenhouse gas emissions compared to landfilling substantially. So there's growing interest, particularly in Europe and in Asia, and also within the US, to reevaluate waste energy facilities, and some of the new facilities coming online are really impressive. Next slide, please. So this is an example of our self-serving energy campus. Kind of a lot to see here. Hopefully you can see it, but the red dots are facilities that we currently provide power to. So we've got the advanced wastewater treatment plant, we've got the Woodbury pump station, as well as the Brandon Support Operations Complex, where we have a lot of our administrative staff and offices. We will be evaluating the potential to supply energy to other adjacent county properties that you see here depicted on this map, particularly when our existing power purchase agreement expires. It might be more financially beneficial for us to provide power to some of these other county facilities, in addition to the internal benefit of using that power internally as opposed to selling it back to the grid. Next slide, please. So there's a lot of challenges with how waste is being managed, not only globally, but also here locally. And we see that as a really big opportunity for innovation and improvement with how we do things. Next slide, please. So there's been a major shift over the past several years, particularly recently, kind of a paradigm shift from how we view waste from the linear consumption-based system where we extract resources, manufacture a product, consume that product, and then essentially have to deal with the waste and get rid of it, towards a sustainable materials management approach, where we're looking at what is the life cycle impacts of those materials, the different types of packaging that are being produced. How can we extract the most benefit from the waste that we do have to manage, but also how can we close that loop and get to a circular economy where we're eliminating some inefficiencies, eliminating waste in the first place, and trying to make sure that we're putting materials back into the supply chain where they can improve our economic output, also our environmental benefits. So hopefully you all will recall the inverted pyramid on the left here. That's the waste management hierarchy. We did put that forward as part of the formal amendment to the solid waste element of the comp plan that you all reviewed recently, and we appreciate your support for. And essentially, to go over that quickly, the idea is to reduce as much waste as possible. The waste that's not being generated is the best for the environment and the least cost to manage, obviously. Reuse materials as much as we can. When we can't do that, we'd like to recycle and compost and maximize what we can do via those processes, followed by energy recovery, such as our waste to energy facility that I touched on, or new types of emerging technologies that are out there to recover energy from waste, such as like anaerobic digestion. And then of last resort is the landfill. And it's critical to note that we're always going to need the landfill. There's always some materials that will have to be landfilled. It's a vital piece of our integrated solid waste system that we will keep. But the goal is to maximize the longevity of that asset and to find beneficial uses for material, or to not produce waste in the first place, so that we can really see the landfill as a last resort. So on the right side, you see where we're currently at in fiscal year 2020 in regards to how we're managing waste. And you can see that we're not currently living up to where we would like to in regards to the waste management hierarchy. We got about 48% of our material that went to the waste to energy facility was processed, 36% went to the landfill, and 16% recycled. I will point out that this only includes material that enters the county's waste stream, so that recycling number is much lower than the overall county recycling rate. It doesn't include business-to-business or recycling efforts and other things that are beneficially being done with recycling in our area. It's only looking at what touches our collection points or our facilities, but obviously still a lot of room for improvement. And I'll point out that with the future population growth that we're anticipating and the economic development that comes with that, seeing that the waste energy facility is at capacity, we're going to be landfilling more material unless the county makes strategic investments in new waste management processes, new ways to recover material, new ways to recycle material, and also the policy components to encourage behavior change, whether that's at the residential level or at the commercial level. Next slide, please. So to that end, the Solid Waste Division did develop a solid waste master plan. It's the first time the county had undertaken that a few years ago. It's got a 20-year planning horizon, and it does provide a guide for us to develop future policies, programs, and potential capital investment in infrastructure. And we did account for the fact that there will be a changing population and also future growth in the commercial sector. One unique aspect of the plan is that it does look at a sustainable return on investment to try to quantify some of the social and environmental costs and benefits of some of the potential policies or decisions that we would make, in addition to just the strict financial return on investment. What I think is very important when we start talking about quantifying the environmental benefits of some of the decisions that we may make in the future. Next slide, please. So there's a lot on this slide. I'm not going to go through all of it, but essentially it's some best practices that we're seeing around the country and globally in terms of moving towards that sustainable materials management approach. We've got kind of the strategy from the hierarchy on the left, some examples that the county is currently working on, and then other things that we have seen in other communities that are working and that we may consider in the future, and which may become before this commission as well. At the top on the waste reduction front, we do have the Reduce Your Use Tampa Bay campaign. I'd like to highlight that. It's really focused on targeting single-use plastics. We have an individual pledge where we encourage residents to voluntarily take steps to reduce their use of single-use plastics. This campaign was launched by Hillsborough County. We brought on City of Tampa and Keep Tampa Bay Beautiful as partners. And we recently just expanded to both sides of the bay to include Pinellas County, City of St. Petersburg, as well as Keep Pinellas Beautiful as part of this effort. And we're going to be relaunching it formally this upcoming month, actually. So hopefully you'll see a lot more media attention and other information about this. But, for all of your viewers and the commissioners yourself, you can take a look at that. We have the individual pledge and also the Businesses for the Bay component, where we are acknowledging and celebrating those businesses that are taking steps to voluntarily reduce their use of single-use plastics in particular, given the increased scrutiny on marine debris associated with plastics and microplastics in the bay and all of that. On the reuse side of things, we have some efforts already underway. We partner with Public Works to reuse some of their asphalt they have for solid waste projects. We're also evaluating the potential to use the ash left over from the waste energy process to be as an aggregate for like a road base. And we're working with the University of Florida to study that at the Northwest Transfer Station project that is currently underway, a capital improvement project. So if we are able to utilize that ash beneficially for road base, then that would be a huge win for the county and help eliminate some of the material going to the landfill. I'll touch on recycling quite a bit. I think the key thing here to note is that not all recycling is equal, and not all recycling goes in your curbside cart. There's a variety of ways that we recycle different materials, and we do that via different processes, different contracts, and different facilities. I think sometimes the public gets confused and thinks all recycling is the same, and there's really a universe of recycling out there, and your curbside program is just one component of that. On the recovery side, we do have the waste energy facility already in operation. Recently, we have launched a leachate evaporator out at the Southeast County landfill. We're going to be using landfill gas that's recovered from the landfill to power that leachate evaporator. So that's another example of how we're trying to be innovative and finding beneficial uses of the resources that we have at our disposal. Next page, please. So I'm the recycling coordinator. I got to touch on recycling a little bit, seeing that it's one of our more high-profile programs. So we launched the single stream program again back in 2013. We saw a huge increase in the amount of recycling tonnage that we have been recovering. We do have 4 drop-off sites at our community collection centers for residents that don't have curbside access. So whether you're in an apartment complex that may not provide recycling. But one of the big challenges that we're facing is the contamination rate. And I'll touch on that a little bit more in a future slide. But we're at about 24% for our contamination rate. University of Florida did a study last year that was published that showed the state average is about 25%. So we're kind of right at that. We would love to get that down below 15%. It'd make a lot more sense from an environmental and cost perspective for us to get that way. That's a big challenge that we're facing locally here with the other municipalities, also across the state and really across the country. And just of that note, the public is very confused about what can and can't be recycled. The picture you see there are programs that we accept in our service area. But of note, City of Tampa, Plant City, Temple Terrace all have different rules for the items they can accept, and that's based on their respective processing contracts, and those are always changing. And there's also a variety of new materials coming out onto the marketplace in regards to the types of packaging and stuff that's confusing. So we've got our work cut out for us, and we're going to be working towards eliminating that contamination. So next slide, please. So when I say contamination, what we mean is any item that we cannot recover in that curbside program. So that could be a peanut butter jar that if it was clean, we could recover it, but with all that extra peanut butter, we can't recover it. Or it could be just household trash that's thrown in there, or items that we can recycle in some other way. Like in the middle picture there, the electronics could have been recycled at our e-waste collection events at our community collection center 6 days a week, but can't be recycled via the curbside cart. And whenever we have contamination, it essentially damages our processing equipment and endangers staff. The picture you see there on the left is at our scheduled break time. Staff have to go in there and manually cut out items that wrap around those star screens. We call them tanglers. So plastic bags are the biggest offender, but cords, wires, hoses, anything that could wrap around your arm will wrap around that equipment. And when it shuts it down, we're losing productivity, which is an increased cost, again, endangers our staff, and it also just lowers overall throughput of the successful recycling at that facility that we contract with. We also have rejected loads. So if we've got material coming in from the truck and it's just too dirty to send through the plant, that gets rejected and goes back to either the waste energy facility or the landfill, increasing our costs because we're having to double handle that material. It also lowers the value of the outbound recyclables we sell to the market, and ultimately leads to less demand for recycled material versus virgin materials. And that's a big thing within the industry, is to make sure that we're looking at the quality of the material that we're recycling, making sure people recycle correctly so that we can ensure that we're maximizing the environmental benefit and keeping costs down. Next slide, please. So we've been trying a variety of ways to reach people. These are just some examples of some of the deliverables that we've done. I think of note is that we understand people have shorter attention spans now. There's a lot of things competing for our time and energy. So we try to keep things relevant, such as the bottom right picture there of our holiday recycling naughty and nice list that we put out around the holidays. One other thing of note is that we launched the state's first regional outreach campaign a couple years ago. So again, partnership with City of Tampa, Hillsborough County is the founding member, City of Tampa, City of St. Pete, and Pinellas County to try to get on the same page in terms of how we're communicating to residents, particularly with the things that are common challenges to us. And we have TampaBayRecycles.org as a regional landing page where residents can go, regardless of where you live in the Bay, get some information about some of the common challenges that we are all facing with curbside recycling, and then get sent back to your respective collector, your city, to make sure you're getting the right information for where you live and where your service provider is. Next slide, please. Some other innovations that are currently underway within solid waste. We've recently expanded to full scale the biosolids composting partnership with public utilities. So we're taking wastewater biosolids, combining that with yard waste, and actually producing a beneficial compost that we can market. So it's saving the county money, producing something that can then be used in the agricultural industry within the state to reduce the use of fertilizers. Lots of positive environmental benefits as well as cost savings for us. Again, we're evaluating the use of waste-to-energy ash as a roadway pilot at the Northwest Transfer Station. And if we are able to demonstrate that there's no issues with anything harmful leaching out of that, then we'll be able to start to use that for a variety of other projects around the county, and that's would be a huge win for us. We're also evaluating the use of our closed landfills to determine if there's better ways to use that land. So we're evaluating the potential to do solar on some of those sites. We're also going to be pursuing some formal means of evaluating innovative waste processing technologies. There's a lot of new processes coming out there. Not all of them have been fully vetted with, the scale of a local government like we would need, but we're going to be looking at all of those. Again, we did the Reduce Your Use Tampa Bay campaign. That's kind of our first foray into kind of behavior change, getting residents to understand their connection to what they do, how they consume, and how that impacts us in solid waste and their local environment. We also expanded our partnership with the Cooperative Extension Office to offer backyard composting classes. So if you're a resident of Hillsborough County, I think it's only $5. You can sign up to take the composting class. It's offered online now, and you actually get a free compost bin with that. Great value to actually enable you to do composting at home after getting educated on how to do that. I think the next course is tomorrow evening, and then there'll be another one in September if that one's already full. But residents can take advantage of that great program that we've been expanding. Next slide, please. And then kind of finally, we've got some planned projects that are being undertaken in fiscal year 22. We're going to be looking at ordinance revisions to try to accelerate, the waste diversion process. So we're going to have one land development amendment that should be coming before you all pretty soon. It's focused on ensuring that new construction for commercial and multifamily developments provide adequate recycling infrastructure. We're going to be looking at reuse opportunities. So again, that reuse of the ash is a huge project and provide a lot of benefit to the county. Can't overstate that enough in terms of the volume that we have to handle. We're also looking at long-term stability on the recycling side. So we're going through a process right now where we're looking at comparing various recycling processing options, and we're actually actively working with procurement on an active project that's in the cone of silence right now. We're also going to be looking at the potential to do more composting with an eye to eliminating some of the food waste that enters our system. So we'll be taking a look at potentially anaerobic digestion or traditional composting for food waste in addition to some of the other organics materials that we manage. And then finally, we're going to be doing a request for information to explore waste processing technologies with the eye of keeping, forward thought on what's being done out there, what's being successful, and then what can we implement in Hillsborough County to provide a great return on investment for our residents and ratepayers. And with that, I'm available for any questions. Next slide, Melissa. Thank you.
Thank you for the in-depth presentation. There any questions or comments on this one from the commissioners? I had a question for you, actually. That contamination rate, the 24% rate that we're at now, what was the trend on that? Has that been going up and going down since we started the recycling cart program, or?
It has been going up. We were at about 19% at the beginning of the launch of that program, and it's been steadily going up. And we've seen the same in other adjacent communities as well. The state has launched a Reset, Rethink, Recycle campaign through Department of Environmental Protection to try to draw attention to this issue, but it's one of the biggest challenges facing all municipal recycling programs across the state. Definitely something that we're going to need public support and residents to pay attention to what they can and can't recycle, and to make sure that we're moving that further down. So we've got some things in the works. I think that ultimately what's going to be needed is some level of curbside enforcement to really bring it back to at the curb, letting people know if they've got something in the cart that is unacceptable, getting it at that point prior to it gets to our transfer stations.
Cool. All right, and I had one more question about the biosolids. Where was that taking place again, the biosolids work you guys are doing?
Correct. So we've got a composting facility. It's actually located on the campus of the Southeast County landfill. And so a significant portion of the county's wastewater biosolids goes there as an input feedstock along with yard waste. And we've got a process that they have windrows where we actually turn that into a viable compost that's certified, and we can market it and use it to sell. So we actually are saving money from having to haul it and landfill it, saving that landfill airspace, and also producing a beneficial product.
Cool. Thank you.
I had a quick question.
Yes, Commissioner Kress.
Thank you. Thanks for that very thorough report. And I found it interesting. And I don't think that there's a consolidated city-county plan. I think the city of Tampa has its own solid waste collection, et cetera. So is there any discussion about doing that?
We're in active conversations with our counterparts in the other municipalities. We actually have a meeting next week with the solid waste director of City of Tampa to go over strategic planning. So we keep an open dialogue with our staff, but as of now, and based on the way our ordinances are set up and our solid waste boundaries, there's not a unified plan to manage our recycling systems, as an example, the same. It all is based on each local government's actions that they're taking. And I'll point out that our solid waste jurisdictions were actually established by state statute. So our jurisdictions are actually set by state, which is somewhat unique in our area.
Thank you, Commissioner Kress. Commissioner Powell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the contaminants, is there like one or two things like in particular that are causing the most contamination that we could, look at trying to bring awareness to?
That's a great question. Thanks for the opportunity to kind of plug our outreach, right? So bag recycling continues to be one of the biggest challenges that we face. So that's people well-intentioned, they're separating their recycling, they got it nice and clean for us, but they put it in a garbage bag, they put that bag in their blue cart, you cannot recover that material. It's just the processing line is moving too fast, nor is it safe to have staff manually opening those bags because there's broken glass, and unfortunately we get needles and a variety of other hazardous stuff in there as well. So bag recycling would be one of the things that's easiest for people to correct. We have other things that maybe are not as significant in terms of the weight, but shut down the facility. So anything that could be considered a tangler, such as the plastic bags, cords, hoses, wires, textiles, those are extremely problematic in just regards to the damage they can cause on the equipment and shut the whole process down. Beyond that, you get into a lot of, there's food waste, yuck items, lots of things that are too soiled to be properly processed. And we've got an entire list that I can send you all that has our most recent composition study that breaks everything out by category if you'd like. I can get that to the Planning Commission staff and forward to you all.
Okay, and then just as a suggestion, I don't know if this would even be feasible, but I think at some point going forward, as new trash cans are being delivered, I think it would be a good idea to have on the on the blue cans themselves, what is, what we're looking for and what we're not looking for. So that way where you're at the point of entry here where you're throwing it away, it's like, hey, be mindful that we want this, not this. I don't know if that's how expensive that would be, but I think that would be a really good idea to think about going forward.
Yeah, we have evaluated that. There obviously is a cost to hot stamp those on there. One of the challenges with that is that what is and is not acceptable changes with our processing contracts. The county does not own a recycling facility, and therefore we got to rely on the private sector facilities that are available. And when the markets change or their processing equipment's change, the materials that we can accept change. So as an example, and not to throw them under the bus, but City of Tampa does have their stickers on their cart, and they can no longer recycle some of the items that they have on their carts. I'd also say in several communities that have those stickers, their contamination rate is even higher than ours. So I agree with you, it makes sense, you would think it would work. But what people find is that often people have already made up their mind in their house to recycle certain items, and when they get to the lid of the can, they've already made up their mind. They're not really paying attention to it as much as we would like for them to. But certainly something that we will be using when we go out and do outreach, re-stickering with some of the key messaging, don't bag your recyclables, those types of things, will be a component of our outreach at the curb in the future.
Thank you, Commissioner Powell. Good question. Good question. Yeah, Commissioner Dowdy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to follow up on that a little bit, and it's interesting that the what can and cannot be recycled is not controlled by the county. And I'll you indicated when you started the program, you had a lower waste rate and now, or a lower contamination rate, and now you have a higher contamination rate. And I'll give you an example. At least in my household, when this program started, I had 2 of those big blue bins that I filled up, and now I have one that gets about 3/4 full because I can't recycle what I used to be able to recycle. And so along with all those lines, you don't have any control over it, but can you maybe perhaps change your contracts to require the people that are bidding on your contracts to recycle certain items to solve the problem?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's actually the direction that we're going. We have limited capacity control, what we can do via the contracts, but we are trying to leverage our power of the purse to move things in the right direction. The active procurement that we've got that we're working on right now, one option would be to leverage property that's adjacent to our waste to energy facility for a long-term lease at a very cheap cost to help leverage that property in the proximity to the disposal site to get a better cost effectiveness for the county on recycling. And with that, we're requiring a variety of other materials to be recovered. So that's a type of way we can use those contracts to try to move in the direction that we want. It's also our vision that we have a very strong piggybacking provision within that, whereby we would hope that the other municipalities within the county would be able to utilize that same contract so that we can all get kind of on the same page with what we are recovering. Again, I can't get into too many more details because that's an active procurement that we're working on right now. But to your point, that's exactly the direction that we're trying to go.
Thank you, Commissioner Dowdy. Good question. All right. Are there any more questions or comments from the... Oh, Commissioner Handy. Sorry, I can't see your light.
That's okay. Yeah, that was a great presentation, very informative. It's really terrific information. You guys are doing an amazing job. Question about dumping and litter. Again, getting back to my rural roots here, but it really is a problem in places like Waimama, Baum, just out in the hinterlands, lots of dumping, loads of trash and just litter. So could you just briefly describe, if you have any sort of program or any means of addressing that, or policing these areas to where you do some regular trash pickup?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So I also serve as kind of our anti-litter coordinator as well. So the county's primary investment is with our relationship and agreement with Keep Tampa Bay Beautiful. So they manage our Adopt a Road program as an example. They also have the other adoption programs. So Adopt a Park, Adopt a Spot. Basically, if there are community groups, residents, or businesses that want to volunteer to help clean up our community and to adopt portions of roadways that we maintain, we make sure to celebrate them with road signs, that type of thing. We also have some annual cleanup events, the Hillsborough River and Coastal Cleanup, Trash-Free Waters, those types of things. But as part of that effort, they also go out into the schools and do presentations on litter prevention, education outreach, that type of thing. Also, Public Works partners, or via their contracts with the contracted right-of-way maintenance companies, that they're supposed to pick up all litter before they mow, so that a couple pieces of litter don't get chopped up under the mower and become excessive amounts. But again, they're only picking that up prior to when they're scheduled to do the mowing, and that is not as frequent as some people would like, just given the sheer volume of roadways that we maintain. I'll also say that we partner with code enforcement on Fight the Blight and other initiatives in targeted areas that we know need some additional love and attention, to try to make it very easy for residents to participate, to get rid of some things that might be sitting in their yard they want to get rid of, that type of thing. But that's kind of how we address it, is via the Public Works maintenance contracts and via our partnership with Keep Tampa Bay Beautiful to expand the adoption program. and really try to get more support for those existing efforts.
Thank you very much. That's really good to hear. I was tempted to ask about if working with code enforcement, because that is another issue in rural areas that, you may live next door to someone who thinks their front yard is a dump. And it has been extremely difficult to get code enforcement to respond and, do something to try to get these neighborhoods cleaned up. So I'm glad to hear that you're taking that initiative. Thank you.
Right, now I'll just add on to that obviously we're a huge county in terms of the geographic area that we've got to cover and the number of households. So not as an excuse, but just we'd love to have more resources and to focus on those things a little bit more. We're also trying to elevate those programs by partnering with others in the community that have a high profile. So last year we did a commercial actually with the Thunderbug for Tampa Bay Lightning Thunderbug to encourage the cleanups and the adopted roads. So trying to partner with some of those high-profile organizations to get more attention to this and what people can do to help us out with that. But I agree, litter is definitely something we hate to see, and litter attracts more litter, unfortunately.
Thank you. Good question, Commissioner Handy. Very good. Are there any more comments or questions from the commissioners on this item discussion? Not seeing any. We will thank you for the report, and we will move on to our next item.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. 4C, PCCPA 21-04, Future Land Use Map Amendment, south of South Frontage Road, east of Sun Keene Road, and the presenter is Mark Hudson.
Good afternoon, Mark Hudson, Planning Commission staff. I will attempt to share my screen here. Are you able to see my screen? Hello?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Again, Mark Hudson, Planning Commission staff. I'm here this afternoon to brief you on the only plan amendment that we are processing for the City of Plant City this cycle, PCCPA 21-04. This is the location of the plan amendment on Plant City's vision map. More specifically, it's south of South Frontage Road, east of Sun King Road, north of East Baker Street, which is also used 92, and west of Charlie Taylor Road. It's located with access to South Frontage Road, which most leads to the interchanges of Park Road and Interstate 4, and also County Line Road and Interstate 4. This shows you the aerial that is located on the site, the property that's located on this aerial. It's surrounded by the lavender dashed line. You can see that the area when this was taken was undeveloped. The applicant actually has control of lands to the north, east, and south. Also, you can see across the street is a very large retention pond, and to the north west is a multifamily complex. Just slightly off the aerial is Interstate 4. This next slide just gives you a little bit of background. It was privately initiated at small scale, coming in at just under an acre. The current land use is Hillsborough County Residential 1, and this, of course, was a recent voluntary annexation. And the applicant has requested Plant City mixed-use residence commercial, and also to be part of the I-4 Tech overlay, which is true of the lands to the north, east, and south as well. I'll just go back to that slide just momentarily. This photograph shows you some development on Interstate 4 that you may have noticed over the last couple months. This is City Furniture Incorporated, which is being built in Plant City currently. And it is, from my understanding, going to be the largest warehouse and furniture showroom in the state. And this small parcel is being proposed to be brought into that much larger development. This shows you the future land use map as it stands today. Shows you the light yellow color of the, light green color of the residential one in unincorporated county, and it shows you the mixed-use residence commercial Plant City that is to the north, east, and south. And this shows you how the map would change if it was ultimately approved by the City Commission. to give you a little bit more information as far as how we are preparing to analyze this. It is allowed to have one dwelling unit on the property in its Hillsborough County land use. This would increase to 10 units in Plant City if it was approved at what has been requested. Also, there's option to have a little over 13,000 square feet of commercial uses or a little over 19,000 square feet of industrial uses. We are planning on coming back to you to present this plan amendment to you at your September 14th public hearing. We'll be doing a similar presentation at Plant City City Hall at 8:30 in the morning on September 22nd to garner their recommendation. And the tentative adoption hearing date before the City Commission is October 25th. And with that, I'm prepared to answer any questions. This is another photograph of the site with the current homestead that is on the site, which I believe currently is vacant. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Hudson. Are there any questions or discussion on this item from the commissioners?
Yes.
Commissioner Handy, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Could you please back up and show us, you said that there's the very large furniture facility that's under construction, and where is this property in relation to that?
This is the large property that is to the north and also to the east. Some of it is shown on this graphic that I show you here, which is shown in the lavender color, the mixed-use residential commercial, and also includes more property to the west. It is a rather large site.
Oh, okay. So it would be in between the subject parcel and the interstate.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Basically, they have control of the property that of all the property that is west of Sun King Road, south of South Frontage Road, to the next intersection.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
At the public hearing, I'll try to resize these graphics so you have a better grasp of the entirety of that site.
Thank you, Commissioner Handy. Was there any more question or discussions from the commissioners on this item? Not seeing any at this time. I'll thank you for the presentation, and we will move on to our next item. It's another briefing, TACPA 2111, floor area ratio for residential in the community mixed use 35, community commercial 35, and urban mixed use 60 future land use categories. And the presenter is David Hay.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. David Hay with your Comprehensive Plan and Policy Review Division. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. The next item before you is a briefing for TACPA 2111. This is one of 9 amendments within the May cycle of plan amendments within the City of Tampa. The amendment deals with changes in the ability to utilize the floor area ratio for residential uses in the community mixed use 35, the community commercial 35, and the urban mixed use 60 future land use categories. A little background about the request. On April 1st of this year, Tampa City Council directed city staff to review the use of floor area ratio in determining maximum development potential for single-use structures. This ability to utilize floor area ratio within the mixed-use categories has been an option within the comprehensive plan since at least the 1998 City of Tampa Comprehensive Plan. The purpose, as stated in the 1998 plan, was, quote, this concept permits residential uses to be competitive with commercial and/or office uses, unquote. After a stakeholder meeting was held on May 25th, city staff revised the original language that was sought to address city council concerns. That revised language, based on that feedback from the first stakeholder meeting, was received by the Planning Commission staff in early July. Another stakeholder meeting was held on August 3rd to present that new draft language to the community. Now to go through the proposed changes. For your reference, again, the proposed language is provided within your packet. It's in the land use descriptions for the three land use categories. The most significant change is the removal of utilizing FAR in determining maximum residential density in the South Tampa and New Tampa planning districts. On your screen, we have a map of the planning districts. Of course, South Tampa is basically almost everything south of Hyde Park and south of Kennedy Boulevard down to MacDill Air Force Base. And then the New Tampa is north of the USF campus up to Pasco County line. Those are the two that are affected by this change. Based on those districts' characteristics, the comprehensive plan have viewed these two districts as providing, quote, limited growth opportunities, unquote. Other changes within the land use descriptions include the removal of the statement, whichever calculation is more beneficial to the development, and the addition of, quote, determina sites, unquote, to clarify an existing sentence. Again, the draft language is included in your packet. And then finally, the word consistent is removed out of the land use description and replaced with the word compatible. The word consistent is not defined within the comprehensive plan. The definition of compatible is defined in the comprehensive plan as the characteristics of different uses or activities or design which allow them to be located near or adjacent to each other in harmony. Some elements affecting compatibility include the following: height, scale, mass and bulk of structures, pedestrian or vehicular traffic, circulation, access and parking impacts, landscaping, lighting, noise, odor, and architecture. Compatibility does not mean the same as, rather it refers to the sensitivity of development proposals in maintaining the character of existing developments. A staff recommendation will be provided at your September 14th public hearing. And that concludes my presentation. I'm available if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments on this item from the commissioners? This commissioner. Not seeing any at this time. Well, thank you for the presentation and move on to our next item on the agenda, which is the Executive Director's Report. Ms. Zornita.
Thank you. Melissa Zornita, Executive Director. I sent out via email my Executive Director's Report late yesterday. As you'll see, one of the major activities over the last month was spending time on briefings with the BOCC on the RP2 and the Waimama amendments that you all heard at the end of July. On August 5th, the BOCC transmitted the RP2 amendments. They did make some changes to them, specifically to removing a couple of the community benefits from the list. And then, no, it wasn't last week. It was the week before last. On August 12th, the BOCC transmitted for state review the Waimama plan amendments. Similarly, they made a number of changes at the request of the Waimama community to the community benefits. Those were the major areas of changes. There were a couple other minor things that they modified. So we continue to work with, we are going to be having, at the board's direction, they asked for another meeting in RP2 to talk about the lot size issue. So we're having a meeting there. We're also having a meeting in Waimama because there were so many changes to the, in particular, the community benefits, and it was a lot of motions happening and hard to follow. We want to have a meeting with the community just so they can understand what the new draft is, and so those will be occurring in the middle of September. Hoping to be able to have some in-person and online options for people to get involved there. Then the adoption hearings will be in October. And we are also continuing to work with Development Services on the Land Development Code refinements to bring those back as well. So other things besides RP2 and Waimama that have been going on. I had the opportunity to make a presentation to the Greater Tampa Realtors Association about our organization and about the long-range plans and comprehensive plan. That was a great opportunity to get in front of a different organization. Ms. Alden from the TPO and myself and our legislative liaison, Diane Sauls, have been meeting with some of our legislative delegation over the summer before they get into committee meetings. There are some things on the transportation sides in terms of regional priorities that are discussed, but also the issue that Ms. Handy raised about that came up last year about virtual participation in meetings, particularly of committees and recommending bodies that are not elected, is something that we continue to raise in that process. We've also been having a number of meetings with the City of Tampa on updating the City of Tampa's comprehensive plan. So they have, many of you might have been aware that the City of Tampa had a big outreach effort called Tampa Moves. Maybe 3-4 months ago it concluded, and they got a lot of great input on transportation initiatives for the city, but also growth and where that should occur. And so we are working with their staff, digesting that, developing a vision and kind of guiding principles for the update of their comprehensive plan, hoping to bring that back to you all and to City Council this fall. So the work on updating their plan is beginning in earnest as we continue to update the county's plan as well. So very busy Plan Hillsborough. I think the only other thing I would mention is that the September meeting is on a Tuesday. Again, we're in the period of meetings not being on their normal day. So I'll just keep reminding you to check your calendars. If you have any questions, please ask. I know a couple folks 2 weeks ago were like, wait, where's the meeting information? And so happy to clarify, but September 14th, a Tuesday, is our next meeting. Thank you.
I had a question.
Sure.
Just a curiosity, this Rocky Point meeting with City of Tampa staff, what was that?
There is some litigation regarding the Rocky Point Plan Amendment that I know you remember.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And that was what that meeting was regarding with Mr. Robin attended and Mr. Hay in preparation for the litigation.
Wow, I didn't even know that was still a thing going on there.
Yes, these things take quite a long time.
Right. Yes, Mr. Powell, please go ahead.
Mr. Chair. The items that the commissioners made changes on for the RP2 and WRT, I didn't get to watch that. I was on vacation. Well, the changes that they made, were they ones based on recommendations from the community and from the studies, or were those things that just, other things affected those decisions?
I would say by and large they were based on what they heard from the community. In particular in Waimama, the Waimama Community Development Corporation and Enterprising Latinas put together a list of what they thought about each of the community benefits. It was a very effective approach, and they said, some of these impact our community very nicely and we like them, and others we don't see the benefit. I think some, like Commissioner Handy had raised one about the LEED certification. We don't see how that impacts our community. That was one that was removed. So I would say it was by and large based on input from the community.
And I think at our last meeting, Commissioner Handy maybe had made a motion on, for Enterprising Latinas, they had wanted to create their own board or advisory. Was that incorporated as well? I mean, we approved it and I thought it was a great idea. I just didn't know if it got heard by them.
Yeah, a letter outlining that was included into the packet by the BOCC. Many of the Waimama folks, again, spoke on that issue. An item was added to the strategic action plan in their community plan with that regard, and I believe the county is going to come back with some ideas on approaches of how to structure that implementation task force, I think is the terminology the community was using, but kind of looking at the best way to approach that. The county administration would be taking that on now.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Powell. Yeah, and I'll say I did watch it, and it was very complex. And from my take on it, I was very proud of our Board of County Commissioners because they discussed a lot of very tough things and came to some very decisive decisions, right? And it was a very long meeting. Watching Ms. Zornita last through that was very interesting, but I think you would have been quite happy to watch what went on at the meeting between them. It really, the issues came out and they talked about it and they did their job, and hopefully it moves forward. So Commissioner Handy, please.
Okay, one of my questions was, Melissa just answered, it was also going to be about the task force and how, what the future of that, I've seen that letter that you referred to, but just, wondering what was decided. And then completely unrelated, another question I had, looking at your list here on your report, it says August 5th, meeting with Representative Mike Beltran and Beth Alden. Can you, that Mike Beltran is representative out in South County. Can you give me a little brief summary of what those meetings are about and what is discussed?
Yeah, because we approach it in a unified way. We talk about some of the transportation priorities, and specifically with Representative Beltran, he had sponsored a bill last year that related to the Tampa Hillsborough Expressway Authority and expanding the geography that organization covered. And we had Ms. Alden had a suggestion about ensuring that the expressway, the wording was a little bit strange, how it said it needed to be in conformance with local desires or something. And she said, well, why don't you just say it has to be consistent with the long-range transportation plan? So that was one issue that was discussed there. Typically, the regional transportation priorities are discussed, and then I bring up, because it was probably a year ago, that at least that we were talking about the changes in how these meetings could be conducted, and the Planning Commission asked that we advocate for more flexibility in how the Planning Commission meetings be conducted, not just the Planning Commission, but other boards similarly situated to be able to conduct business virtually. And so that's the issue that usually I bring up in these meetings.
Okay, and how was that received by Representative Beltran?
He listened. I don't know. They don't tend to give unless they're like really enthusiastic about something, they don't give a lot of, yeah.
Okay, well, it's something that is definitely relevant to his constituents, so, okay. Yeah. Thank you for that report.
Absolutely.
Another good question, Commissioner Handy. I was wondering the same thing myself, but I wasn't quite bold enough to put it out there like that. So I'm glad you asked that question. I did also want to throw one more question in there on you, Melissa. The Tampa mixed use study update. I'm just curious when we are going to get to sink our little claws into that, see that?
Sure thing. Yeah, that was a meeting between us and Tampa staff on some of the preliminary findings. I just reviewed the next draft of the report yesterday, so we have to then vet that with the Tampa staff. So my guess is maybe October.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much. Were there any more questions or comments from the commissioners? Seeing none, we will thank you for that report, and we will move on to our next items. Item number 6, other business, chair's business. I have none. Old business. Commissioner Dowdy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I know Melissa and Tracy know what this is. I just wanted to bring up and ask you to redouble your efforts about a letter to our Board of County Commissioners requesting that they get their appointments in line appropriately.
I'll be glad to do that. I inadvertently overlooked that.
Thank you. All right. Was there any other old business from the commissioners? No, not seeing any. We will move on to new business. All right. Also not seeing any committee reports. Do we have any? Commissioner Powell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the Planning Commission's 39th Annual Planning and Design Awards, we've received a lot of great and presentations and everything, and the winners are going to be revealed on October the 27th at 4:30 for our awards program at Arbinger Works. Tickets are going to go on sale September the 1st, so please mark your calendars for that. And that's the end of the report I have for that. And for the Affordable Housing Board, we did meet on August the 9th, and I would say the large hot topic that was discussed was the eviction and moratorium that had ended and has since been extended. There is still quite a bit of money that is left in the coffers for those who need rental assistance. So if you are one of those folks that are in hardship, there is still time to apply to local county resources for assistance.
Thank you. Good information. Are there any more?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, who's that?
Commissioner Rodriguez.
I was looking for your name in the list. I didn't see it, Commissioner Rodriguez. Yes, please go ahead.
Hi there. For the City of Tampa Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, we actually have had 3 meetings here since our last Planning Commission meeting. We had a monthly meeting on July 21st where we received updates on the city's infill Phase 2 project, the replacement home program, owner-occupied rehabilitation, and the emergency rental assistance program, which is a countywide program. So on August 5th, we had a workshop where we came together and we watched the Florida Housing Coalition's webinar on implementing a successful Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, and we had a brainstorming session afterward, primarily because the annual action plan is now an annual plan, and we have certain things that as an Affordable Housing Advisory Board we need to accomplish. So we talked through those, and on 18 August we had another monthly meeting. We received the Housing and Community Development's FY22 program overview, which is basically $15.7 million in 9 funding areas. And we also started delving into the affordable housing incentive strategies that will be included in the annual action plan. Specifically, for this meeting, we looked at expedited process of development approvals for affordable housing, fee waivers, and flexibility and density. There's 11 incentive strategies that the committees need to look through, and so we're going to be doing that over the next couple of meetings, and it's anticipated that the annual action plan will be workshopped with City Council in October and go up for a council vote in November. So it's going to be a very active time between now and the end of the year for the committee. Our next meeting will be on September 15th. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Rodriguez. All right. Were there any more committee reports from the commissioners? Not seeing any. We will come to our final item, adjournment. Thank everybody for your time, and we will see you at 5:30 for the public hearings. This meeting is adjourned.